When you look around, you assume you're seeing the world in 3 dimensions. But in a strict physical sense, your eyes lack that capability. The retina at the back of your eye is a flat biological sheet of tissue. It records height and width, but it is physically incapable of capturing depth. Every image your eyes process is entirely 2-dimensional. The only reason you perceive a solid world is because your brain acts as a real-time rendering engine. It analyzes those 2 flat retinal images, calculates shadows and perspective, and constructs a simulated reality inside your skull. This mental engine is strictly limited to 3 axes. It understands movement up and down, left and right, and forward and backward. But mathematics allows for a 4th spatial direction, often called the W-axis. This is an axis that points perpendicular to all 3 of those familiar directions at the exact same time. Because our neural architecture evolved solely to process 3-dimensional space, we lack the hardware to look along this W-axis. We are entirely blind to anything existing in that direction. Since we are locked strictly inside this biological rendering engine, we cannot use our eyes to comprehend a 4-dimensional object. We have to rely on mathematical logic to map out exactly how it would look. To understand how higher dimensions operate, mathematicians use a technique called dimensional extrapolation. We step down to a simpler, lower-dimensional reality to observe the rules of intersection. The theologian and educator Edwin A. Abbott provided a perfect model for this in 1884 with his thought experiment known as Flatland. Flatland is a universe restricted entirely to a 2-dimensional plane. Its inhabitants are flat geometric shapes that slide across a sheet of paper, possessing absolutely no concept of height or the direction up. Imagine a solid 3-dimensional sphere descending from above and passing directly through this paper-thin universe. The inhabitants of Flatland are physically confined to their plane. They cannot look up to see the descending sphere, nor can they comprehend its solid volume. Their entire experience is restricted to the 2-dimensional slice intersecting their world. As the bottom of the sphere touches the plane, they see a single point pop into existence. As the sphere pushes further, that intersection grows, rapidly inflating into a massive solid circle as its equator crosses their universe. Then, as the top half exits the bottom of the plane, the circle shrinks back down to a point, before vanishing completely. A lower dimensional observer can never perceive a higher dimensional object in its true form. They can only experience it as a shifting, changing sequence of cross-sections over time. We can take the exact geometric rules that govern Flatland and scale them up by 1 dimension to apply to our own physical reality. Imagine a 4-dimensional hypersphere with volume extending along the unseen W-axis, drifting through space and intersecting directly with the room you are sitting in. Just like the geometric shapes in Flatland, your eyes would not see the true form of this 4D entity. You would only see the 3-dimensional shadows it casts as it passes through our space. This diagram models a 4D breach. When the hypersphere's edge first touches our space, it manifests as a single microscopic point. As it pushes deeper along the W-axis, that initial point inflates. We perceive this cross-section as a small 3-dimensional sphere materializing on the grid. This spherical cross-section continues to aggressively expand, occupying more and more physical volume inside the room. The object reaches its maximum physical width in our space at the exact moment the absolute center of the hypersphere aligns with our 3-dimensional plane. As the hypersphere exits our dimension, this massive solid object rapidly shrinks down to a microscopic dot before perfectly vanishing into thin air. To a human observer, this would look like an impossible, shape-shifting hallucination, but in reality, it is simply the standard physical movement of a rigid object passing steadily along the unseen W-axis. The realization to draw from this math is that the 4th dimension is not a theoretical physics concept located in some distant corner of deep space. Because the W-axis is a perpendicular spatial direction, it is a geometric property that exists completely intertwined with our own. It is everywhere, all the time. This means a massive 4-dimensional entity could be hovering millimeters away from your face right now, and you would have absolutely no way to detect it. Furthermore, because this dimension operates on an axis outside of our familiar spatial rules, A 4D object bypasses all three-dimensional physical barriers. It can freely intersect the inside of a locked vault or a sealed room. A four-dimensional object could reach into our world and manifest a solid shape directly inside the sealed interior of your body without breaking your skin. Our biological hardware blinds us to a bustling reality happening right on top of us. It renders our entire three-dimensional physical universe as nothing more than a thin, flat slice of a vastly larger world.